Welcome to the Three Questions webcast series. I'm Wayne Baxter, Senior Executive Manager with One Capital Management. On this episode of the webcast, we're going to speak to a Canadian immigration attorney and ask 3 questions American entrepreneurs should ask before immigrating to Canada. Thank you for taking time to check us out. And if you enjoy this episode of the Three Questions webcast series, please consider liking this video and subscribing to our YouTube channel. Now, my clients are often referred to as cross-border clients. Now, why would that be? Well, it's because they're either U.S. or Canadian residents who invest in U.S. and or Canadian dollar-denominated securities like stocks, bonds, or ETFs. One Capital Management, we develop and implement strategies that enable our clients to grow, protect, and ultimately distribute their wealth, and we do that by offering investment wealth management services. Our process for advising our clients involves and includes an in-depth discovery and diagnostic analysis of their wealth management goals and objectives. And if you are an entrepreneur looking to relocate from the United States to Canada, that analysis would include a review of your Canadian immigration strategy. And on this episode, I'm going to introduce you to a Canadian immigration attorney who specializes in assisting U.S.-based entrepreneurs relocate to Canada. For those of you who've been following along, you'll have noticed that we have focused a lot of our webcast discussions on relocating from Canada to the United States, whether that be regarding a business owner or individual investors. So on this episode, we're going to kind of break the mold here a little bit and address questions that an American entrepreneur would have who's moving to Canada. So we're going to cover the 3 questions, 3 questions American entrepreneurs should ask before immigrating to Canada. To help me, joining me from Calgary, Alberta, my former home province, by the way back in the day, is Evelyn Ackah. Evelyn is the founder and managing lawyer of Ackah Business Immigration Law. Her legal practice focuses exclusively on the area of Canadian and cross-border U.S. immigration law. Evelyn, hello, great to see you. Thank you for making time for us today.
Hello, Wayne. Thank you so much for having me. I'm thrilled to be on your show. Very happy. Thank you.
Well, this is, like I say, we do a lot of cross-border discussions on the webcast, and a lot of times we're talking, about Canadians relocating to the United States. But I'm going to note something here that may be the surprise to some folks who are checking in with us, is that there are as many, if not more, U.S. citizens that are relocating to the United States or to Canada from the United States as the other way around. It's not necessarily just simply Canadians coming to the U.S. There's lots of Americans who have moved to Canada.
Yes, absolutely, for a number of reasons.
And I would suggest that probably more than a few of them are entrepreneurs. I guess I would check in with you on that. But I guess when you're advising clients, a lot of them are entrepreneurs looking to establish businesses here.
Yes, absolutely, Wayne. We have a number of clients. Probably half of our client base are corporations that are looking to move to Canada and establish branches or subsidiaries, and also then sometimes move as well.
So with that being the case, and again, you're in the role that you play, you're helping people come into the country, get established.
Mm-hmm.
I guess when you think about it, you're probably having to talk to people that are coming to you saying, listen, I have my boss wants me to move here, or you may even have business owners saying, look, I want to start my new company.
Yeah. Absolutely. So in a case like that, in terms of the process for establishing a business and moving to Canada, if the client, the U.S. entity already is in existence, we often recommend setting up a Canadian business incorporation. So whether it's a provincial or federal incorporation, it allows them, once they've gotten good tax advice from you and your people and somebody else in Canada as well, to make sure they're structured properly, then we incorporate the company, and then we work on the Canadian work permit, usually as an intercompany executive under NAFTA, which is wonderful, now called the USMCA. We still call it the old NAFTA, and it allows the executive to apply right at the airport to get a work permit.
Perfect. So let's go through the 3 questions that entrepreneurs should ask before immigrating to Canada. And again, establishing, the process here. In terms of question number 1 is, what is the process for establishing a business and relocating? Is there a process or methodology that we go through?
There is, and again, it depends on how the business is structured. So if a company in the US wants to move completely, we can't benefit from the NAFTA inter-company because let's say they've shut down their US or they're planning on it, we have to find a different way to get them to Canada, like an investment entrepreneur category. But if they're already operating in the US and they just want to expand their reach, we would incorporate them first, and then we would help them get the work permits, which they can apply for right at the airport entering Canada. And then they can start right away setting up bank accounts, getting their social insurance number, getting tax, payroll, all that stuff set up right away.
Now, from either a business or immigration perspective, does it matter which province? And this is sort of a secondary to the first question. Does it matter which province? If I'm the American entrepreneur looking to relocate, does it matter which province I'm relocating to? Is the same whether it's in Nova Scotia or Ontario or British Columbia?
Well, you know what? It used to matter more, Wayne, because there used to be some provinces where you needed to have a Canadian director or permanent resident on your board, at least 25%. Now, and there's still just a few provinces that still have that requirement. So now more and more of them are allowing non-resident, non-citizens to be directors 100%. Which means you don't need to find somebody to sit on your board. So British Columbia is one of those, which we love. Alberta is one of them, which makes it easier. Ontario is making it easier. PEI, Nova Scotia. And so you can choose, if it matters to you, a provincial incorporation, or you can do a federal incorporation. And in that case, you also don't need to have a Canadian resident either on your board of directors.
So that's a part of the consultation process that you would go through with your client to basically decide if they have a preference as to where they want to live, but you to some degree may be a part of the driving force. Maybe they want to live in Southern Ontario, maybe they want to live in Vancouver, maybe they want to be in the mountains in Calgary, Banff area, or Edmonton. So
yeah, exactly.
But that would
it's based on where they plan to do business, really. And then, of course, where they want to live, right? So if they know they only want to live in Vancouver because they can't stand the cold, but they're planning on doing business across the country, then a federal incorporation would make more sense for them. But if it doesn't really matter, and of course, tax drives this, right? That means you'd have to do filings for every province. So you got to decide how big your business is and if it makes sense first.
Right. So you may have a preference for Vancouver climate, but if you're going to be doing primarily business in Alberta, you may have to think it over a little bit.
Yeah, or you do an extra provincial, or you do an extra provincial registration so that you can do both. You can have everything you want.
But again, the key thing is to sit down with you and do some brainstorming and act as opposed to being acted upon. It's like a lot of things we talk about with clients. This is not a do it yourself process. That's why bringing an expert like you in is so helpful. Okay, so second question. This is again for an American entrepreneur looking to establish residency in Canada. Second question: my spouse and children, will they be able, if they join me, will they be able to, be allowed to work? Will they be able to, we'll assume that they can come with us. Will they be allowed to work once they're here?
Yes. So the answer is yes, especially because for the executive or the specialized knowledge worker, it's skilled work. You're not coming in as a laborer where there are some more challenges. If you are coming in as a skilled worker, your spouse can get an open spousal work permit at the airport as well once you get your work permit. And children, it's interesting, they never used to be allowed to get work permits. But now the government has just launched where children, usually of legal age to work, 16 or something and up, they can also get summer jobs and get work permits. So it's great because it means everybody can enter and do what they want to do and also have medical coverage and legal status and all those things.
Good to know. Harkens back to when we relocated here to the U.S. I came on you're probably familiar with an E2 investor visa, and I was able to obviously work, here with One Capital, and my wife was able to work, but my kids were not.
I know.
It wasn't until we became permanent residents, became green card holders, that my children were able to work.
Yeah,
so
it's new. It's very new, and I haven't seen one file yet go through. So we're like, let's just wait to see what the reality is. But they really have launched in the Canadian government in the summer to try to make it easier for students. Even 16-year-olds to do a job at the local, local fast food joint. Like, why not
Sure.
learn some skills? So, mhm.
Right. Well, I would be great if they could make that happen for sure. Okay, so the third question now, and again, for the U.S. entrepreneur looking to relocate to Canada, is always, the timing, is really about timing to some degree. How long does this take? Is this a long process? Like, how long would you tell somebody to anticipate this is going to take?
For permanent residency to Canada.
Yeah.
So it usually takes, they have to usually work for 1 year at least. And that means the executive would need to be on Canadian payroll for that year. Even if they're going back and forth, they have to be on Canadian payroll working. After 12 months of full-time employment, they can apply for permanent residence. And that process will take about a year to a year and a half especially for an American. I've done them for sometimes it's 8 or 9 months. And it really depends on current processing times and the backlog. But they should expect it will take a year to year and a half, and the whole family will get permanent residence.
That was my second. You actually just answered my
I
follow-up
know
question.
what I'm doing. It's been 24 years.
That was exactly where I was going to go with this. So the whole family, once the first person becomes a permanent resident, everyone else automatically gets grandfathered in basically at the same time.
They're included in the whole application, so that everything that the primary applicant provides is provided by the spouse and the children. So everything. So once the primary applicant is approved, everybody else is approved.
There's a lot more we can cover regarding, the topic of business formation, immigration. One last question is, when, like, if we're talking to you, when should you start that application process? At the very outset, like how far in advance? So, I'm thinking I want to do this, like the run-up time before you actually want to settle into Canada. What would you say the time frame we should be looking at?
So Wayne, I would say anytime from 3 to 6 months. It depends. Like, some people are ready. I have clients who are like, I want to get out of Dodge. I'm going to be working in Canada in a month. We could do that if we had to. But obviously, to do it with real thoughtfulness and having enough time to even consult you and your team and get the tax advice and all those things.
Yeah,
I think it's 6 months is a really good time frame. Gives everybody time, and it's not a rush, it's not stressful, and they have all the information they need to make informed decisions.
That's really good to know. So, and I'm really glad you brought the idea of the planning process, because I've discovered, whether you're coming to the US from Canada or vice versa, the immigration process, I tell everybody, the first step is you need to speak to an immigration attorney to figure out how this is going to happen. Number one. Number two, we need to talk about tax planning. What's the tax situation? And what's your intention for, how long you want to remake. So some people may want to come down, and they may never really want to, like, permanently, as in forever and for more, become a resident, whether it's either way. Maybe it's only going to be for a little while. So, what's the intention you have for your property? And then I could go on and on. There's currency issues.
It's true. You know what I say? People come to me, I say, it can be done, but you need to talk to a tax advisor. You need to talk to Wayne. You need to figure out your plan. Like, this is me. I say, I don't do anything with tax, but I know enough to know tax drives the cross-border relocation business.
So tax planning is super important.
Yeah.
And again, there's other factors. So, but it's good to know from your standpoint, realistically speaking, as long as the I's are dotted, T's are crossed, that a realistic 6-month process is something that's realistic.
Very realistic. We can absolutely make it happen. We'd love to have the opportunity to help.
Yeah, and I can see, which is a perfect segue into what my next question was, is what's the best way for people to reach you, Evelyn?
Wayne, you have asked me more than 3 questions. I want you to know.
Well, I know.
I know how to count. I may not be a tax person, but they can reach me at our firm. It's called Ackah Law. You can find it online, ackahlaw.com. And our phone number is 403-452-9515. And we're on all social platforms and very responsive to answer any questions people have.
Evelyn, I knew this was going to be good. Thank you so much for making time for us today.
Thank you
Evelyn
so much,
Ackah,
Wayne.
Evelyn Ackah is the founder and managing lawyer of Calgary, Alberta-based Ackah Business Immigration Law. Her legal practice focuses exclusively of the area of Canadian and cross-border U.S. immigration. Evelyn, great having you, and look forward to having you again.
Thank you. Have a great day.
I look forward to bringing you the 3 Questions webcast series, and I hope you find each episode educational and informative. Please consider liking this video and subscribing to our YouTube channel. And to receive notification of when our latest webcast has been posted, please click on the notifications bell. Lastly, to schedule an online Zoom consultation with me to discuss your wealth management needs, please click on the link in the description box below, www.onecapital.com/meet with Wayne. Thank you and see you soon.